What's up, dedicated Dragon Ball denizens? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Excited today for this episode. We are going to get into our second of the deck overviews. This time we're going to do red. So we're going to get into some of the kind of key traits of red, what some of those key cards to play to take advantage of some of the main things that red does, what the main leaders are that people are using with them. Hint, it's Goku, along with two others, which we'll focus on. And then I'll also be showing and taking breaks throughout, not necessarily breaks, but, kind of filling in here with some game footage. So I'll go over kind of what those techniques are and then what it looks like in an actual battle. But before we get into that, please hit that subscribe button so you can become part of the Hawks Nest. We are a fabulous flock of fearless folks who love to do what we love. I love playing Dragon Ball. I hope that you all do too. I hope that you also love all kinds of other stuff, and I hope that you're doing that and pursuing that and trying to be the best at it. And when I'm saying the best, I mean the best version of yourself, not necessarily better than others, although if you try to be the best version of yourself, you're often going to be better than others too. But anyway, let's get into things now. Here we are with some red. I've got some of the kind of bigger cards that red's playing right now up there, this Kefla, and I put Kefla in the middle pretty purposefully. I do want to mention that red, you do want to take a look at the banned card list, because red, when the game initially came out, red was super OP. It was so OP that they just had some cards, and OP, I mean overpowered. It was just ridiculously strong with a few cards that just were going to destroy the game before it had arrived. So there are a few cards that are completely banned. I won't talk about them here. I'll let you go take a look at them on your own, because there's no real need to. They're banned. If you're playing on the online client, then they won't let you put those cards in your deck. But if you are making a red deck, really make sure that before you hit your locals for the first time, that you check that banned card list on Bandai, so that you are sure you're not playing with any of those banned cards. One of them, though, still one of the best cards that we can play in red, that's a staple of every red deck, though, is this Kefla 4-cost 20k power from all of this stuff it says down here: Saiyan, Universe 6, Potara, Tournament of Power, all that good stuff. And what I want to emphasize here is you can play one copy of this card in your deck. So you are able to just have one. It's not a ban card, it's a limited card. So pretty much, I don't know of many, if any, decks in red that do not play it. It also combos well with the card we're going to talk about later, and I will show you. But just throwing that out there, Kefla is very important to talk about, as it is one that is limited. Next up, we have, this one is one of the newer ones. We have Son Goku Mini Daima. This is one that forces an awaken. It's not an option, so you do have to add a card to life. Not necessarily awaken, sorry, it forces you to add a card from life. But if your leader's awaken, it's getting another 10k power. Really good card for 2 cost. Mostly because it's a 10k combo, 20k up to 30 if we're awakened. It's one that you want to usually play before you're awakened, because you're forced to take a life. Then we have this Whis over here, and I put one of the kind of, I think it's like one of the tournament versions or something like that. So most of the time you're not going to have one that looks like this. There are an uncommon card, and the good thing about this bad boy is he just stays out there. You choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5k a turn. So these are kind of some staples to it. Most every deck nowadays has at least one copy of these. No decks have more than one copy of Kefla. But anyway, let's get into talking about what some of these leaders are like. Okay, and leaders, let's see here. I've got the 3 main ones that I'll be focusing mostly on in here, but a lot of the cards from there you can use in others. Really like the Goku. This one is I wouldn't call it the most popular, but I personally like it, and it's the most different compared to others. It just has a really unique mechanic, so I think it's necessary to go over here. And then we have Beerus and Jiren. This Goku right here is, we're going to see when it is awakened, he awakens at 3 life. And once per turn, both yours and your opponent's, you're able to choose up to 1 battle card in a battle area, and this card's original power becomes the same as that card's power for the battle. So what that means is it basically copies another card's power in the battle, which is yours or your opponent's. So that's what's really good about this Goku card, is that he is able to copy some of these big heavy hitters that you are playing on the field. For example, maybe you're playing this with the secret rare Goku that we'll talk about later, that is a 40,000 power card. That Goku can copy that. Maybe you are playing blue and your opponent throws out a secret rare Vegito for 40k, then this Goku can copy that. So really cool mechanic there. Then we have Beerus on this end. When he, and probably should talk about him pre-awakening, he is a critical leader. So a lot of what the damage is done, he's doing early on, dealing critical hits to you where the life goes into drop. Now, his ability is able to lower cards' attacks. When he's there, you can't really see what the ability is, but shoot, I already forgot myself. I believe it's by 10k. If I remember properly, you're able to do that once per turn, lower opponents' cards' power. Then we have Jiren. Jiren is a very interesting one there. Again, you can't really see what it's looking like, but we'll see him in battle along with Beerus throughout this. So you'll really see what it is. But he's a 25k power, 3 life awakener. And what happens is he does not draw upon attack, but he is going to draw a card every time he takes damage. So not bad, right? Not bad at all. Now, what are the other leaders? We have Goku, Beerus, as I mentioned here, Goku, Jiren, as I mentioned here, Goku, and then Goku Mini. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, there is literally 1, 2, 3 versions of Goku, 4 if you want to include the Mini, and Jiren and Beerus are literally the only non-Goku in red. We might as well just call red color Goku, because there are a lot of different versions of him. There's some that are called Top Ku, there are Starter Ku. Really, if you are going to play any of these other Gokus, in my opinion, maybe the Goku Mini is the way to go. A lot of people still like the Top Ku one, which I'm not going to go through those here. It's just going to be a lot. Like I said, I'm going to focus on these 3. Let's go. Awakening time for Jiren. Do buff. Talking about style and traits. So we have in here, the main part of red is to lower opponent's cards' power. So it's lowering them. So what it's doing is it's looking at, say, a 25,000 attack card or power card, and then they are doing things like this Frieza, for example. When attacking, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10,000 power for the turn. So it's every time you attack. So that means that you're usually going to be not having a lot of power, but you're lowering your opponent's card's power. So for this Frieza, let's say he has 25,000 attack because it's a few turns after you've played it. Then he is going to hit a 25,000 attack card, but it's going to lower, you can actually lower that card or another card's power. Let's say we're lowering that card's power. Then that card will go down to 15,000, and the freeze is at 25, meaning that your opponent has to play at least 15,000 combo to defend it. Whereas before, they would have just had to play a 5. So you get a lot of these combos, and you can, a lot of times, just destroy cards. Let's say you've got this Frieza and another card that lowers out there, and that Frieza, maybe you have 2 Friezas. Let's say that. You've got 2 of these Friezas out there, and you've got 2 cards on the field, one with 20k and one with 25. Both of those Friezas may attack that 25k card, and then each of them minusing 10 from the 20k, and that is just going to destroy the card. So it's a really big thing in red, and it's a pretty cool mechanic. Raise own power. So there are a lot of cards that are raising your own power, whether it's through leader abilities or card abilities, or these just kind of odd abilities. Many, as you saw that Goku Mini, if your leader is awakened, it gets 10k power. Now this one is an interesting one here with this Frieza. On play, if your leader has Universe 7 in its special traits, Until the end of your next turn, this card can't be removed from the battle area by your opponent's skill, so that is actually really good, something of note. And it gets 20,000 power, so the first time you play this card, it is going to be up to 45,000 for both your turn and your opponent's turn. And again, remember, if we're talking about that Ultra Instinct Goku, then you want to play that when he's awakened so that you're able to copy that, and he can get up to 45k, which we'll see in a little bit. Another thing that Red does, and I don't know if there's necessarily more criticals than other leaders, but I think on the end of Beerus, it is a lot more common because Beerus is a pretty good leader. So you are going to see a lot more critical hit cards being played with Red compared to others for the most part. There are others. You do see a little bit of crits in blue. You don't see so much in black or yellow, but you really see a lot of critical hit cards in red, which are really making it a struggle if you're going to take life and hope that you gain that life in order to defend against later attacks. And then life manipulation is something that's done here, and that's going to take some more explanation to say, but really, like for example, one of the Gokus is a secret rare that nullifies damage against life for one hit, or Jiren is really the life manipulator, because when we're thinking about his ability of drawing a card every time we are hit, then we're also going to see that we're able to do things like take a life, but then a card's ability will add your top of your deck to your life. So in essence, your life does not actually go down, but you take a life and you're able to draw a card from it. So interesting mechanic there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to play these two. We'll lower these guys' power, and then we're going to see if we can just take them all out, especially this guy. Of course, he's who we really want to take out. And look at that. Ooh, we are getting things ready for a few turns from now. Alright, so what we're going to do is, I do not like this guy. So we're gonna both attack him and add a life. We're going to lower his power. And we will awaken so that he can get powered up. I'll lose my crit, but that's okay. It's going to actually end up costing him cards anyway, 2,500 to 1,500. So we've got 3 ways to get him, and he just went ahead and took that straight up. Wow. Okay then. Then let's see. So we might be able to just clear this board this turn, and we are, because he probably wants to keep his cards for the life. Because see, it was worth it to defend this Khalifa, because I mean, not that he would take a hit anyway because he's at 4 life now, but he's really going to double think about it. And look, I totally forgot to even use my skill. I'm still getting used to Beerus. It's actually my second match I even play him. I know the mechanics, but, yeah. So look at that. We got some damage. Strengths of playing red. Red is one that can deal with opponents' cards without attacking. Sometimes you may not attack until you have usually a 3 cost out, which is rather common, but sometimes even a 4 or a 5. And you're going to be able to lower and destroy cards that aren't even in rest mode too, which is good. So they are really able to deal with cards from your opponents that are just sitting there and they're using to activate abilities. You're able to just lower those cards' power to 0, which will then discard those cards. Or put them into drop. So in that way too, the lower power also helps play more low cost cards. So you're going to see red doing things. In the past, it was more common. Now, not so much, because we did get a couple 5 and 6 cost cards that were really good this set. But in the past, you're able to do things like just swarm the board with 2 or 3 costs that are still able to deal with your opponent's board that maybe have higher cost cards because of this thing of lowering the power with ability. And then we have the strength, the Goku secret rare. It just wipes boards. We will talk about him soon, but I will give you a spoiler on that. Whenever that Goku secret rare attacks, he lowers your opponent's board by 20,000 power. So for many colors, that may just destroy their entire board, or at least destroy many of their cards that are pretty low, and make them easy to deal with. So that's the strength of it. I think red has always been a really strong color, and it's going to maintain that at least until the next set drops because of the secret rare Goku. Jiren, on the other hand, too, is, if you're going that route, is a ridiculous draw engine with the amount of manipulation you're able to do so that you take life. What about the weaknesses of red? So red is a color that's kind of tough in the fact that, yes, you are able to KO cards, or in essence put them to drop without attacking, but KOing that card by pushing their power to 0 doesn't use your opponent's hand. So they may be attacking you, and you're having to use your hand to defend, but when you're destroying a card by putting it to 0, you're not going into attack, and you don't give them the opportunity to defend the card, but at the same time, you're also not forcing them to use their hand to save that card. Many times. There are a lot of low-powered attackers here. We did see some of that go away this set with, the secret rare Goku, even that Frieza, which is only 45k for a turn. We did see another Jiren come in as well that is a 6 cost, but there are still a lot of low-powered attacking cards here that are sometimes, especially with colors like blue, that can really just take out their cards, right? And a lot of cards combo off of each other, so it means that you kind of need one card to play another card sometimes, and that can mean if you don't have the right hand, it can be an issue. But that's not something that's really unique to red either. A lot of cards have synergies and combo off of each other, but on red it can sometimes slow you down if you don't have the right stuff in hand to move forward. Alright, now some key cards here. These are cards that are in almost every deck, maybe a little bit less so the Gohan Adolescence all the way to the right, but we'll see this Whis activate main once per turn. I did mention that one early. This one's the more basic version of that card, just the regular uncommon, but that one's one that's you can use once per turn to lower an opponent's card by 5k. Then we have this Gohan Adolescence as a 3 cost, only has 20k attack, but if your leader's awakened, then he gets 5k power on your turn. And what is great about him, he's both a self-awakener and enfeebler, so add a life to your hand if you want, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 15k power for the turn. So a lot of times your goal is going to be putting this Whis, or even more than one Whis, out and hope that your opponent doesn't destroy them. And you can destroy with this Whis and Gohan Adolescence, you're able to destroy a 20k power card. Or if it's higher and in rest mode, then now your Gohan is going to be able to deal with that a lot easier unless your opponent wants to really defend. Now we have this Gohan Adolescence, real nice old school FBO1 card. On play, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and they get minus 10k for the battle. So pretty good there. It's kind of like one that can enfeeble an entire board. Sees a little bit less play now, and actually I mean I wasn't playing during set 1, so I can't even say if it actually saw a lot of play, but I still see it in decks. Sometimes I play it in my Goku UI, so it is still a pretty good card. One of the most tried and true classic moves here is going to be using the Whis. Well, this one we can activate every single turn. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 5k. Just the cheap early knockouts in there. Now the next ones are kind of specific to the decks, so those ones on kind of the UI Gokus, and you'll see them in really every single red decks. These ones you're seeing more in Beerus decks for a couple reasons, right? The Caulifla you do see a lot in pretty much any decks. I'll see them a lot in Jirens and Gokus because it is a critical, it is a 2 cost, and it's a self-awakener. So the Caulifla is really good in those regards, right? That it's going to, early on when your opponent is trying to take hits to awaken, then it's going to make them think a little bit, like, do they want to take that hit or do they want to defend, because that life is going to go in the drop. So it really forces them to bring their hand down. So this Caulifla is really good and fits in most every deck. Right? Then we have this Beerus, which we can call Little Beerus, and then we have Big Dog Beerus, which is the 5 cost. That's what I'll call him, okay? Now this one is cool. It's a 3 cost, 20k, and on play, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, so another Awakener. Then, what this is going to do is activate main for 1 energy, place this card into its owner's drop if your leader has God of Destruction in its special traits. Play up to 1 Beerus with 35k power from your hand. So in essence, it's bringing your Beerus down from 5 cost to 4 cost, but you also are able to do this after you attack with Little Beerus. Right? You can hit them for 20k, maybe they defend, maybe they don't, and then you just put this bad boy into the drop and drop even bigger bad boy, Beerus, right? And there is some really good things that this Beerus does. For one, he is a critical hitter, and as a 35k critical hitter, that is really good. Especially late in the game. Sometimes when your opponent sees that you have multiple attackers coming at them, they have to do some calculations in terms of what am I going to defend and what won't I defend, what am I going to take a life in hopes that that life gives me a card to defend against the next attack. Well, taking that hit from the critical Beerus is going to put that into the drop. And him being a 35k, 5 costs, it's pretty tough to deal with. Then, though, it gets crazier. On play, discard 1 card from your hand. Choose all of your opponent's battle cards with 25k power or less and KO them. So that is crazy. Factoring in, there are ways to lower your opponent's battle cards' power with many cards and abilities, including Beerus's leader ability. It is not very difficult to get your opponent's entire board to 25k or less and destroy their entire board. And then the fact is that you can, if you've got more of these guys, you can play them for again and just keep this kind of flow going. So this is a pretty good kind of way of dealing critical damage to your opponent. Really good way of playing Beerus, and they're really key parts of him as the leader. Alright, now we've got a good turn here. I've got 4 energy and an energy marker. He's got this Gohan out here that I do not like very much. So, perfect opportunity to drop the Beerus combo. So I've got little baby Beerus here. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to add that life to hand, and guess what? I'm ready to awaken, which I will not do because look at this. I don't want him to get cards. He's only got 3 in hand, so I'm actually going to go ahead and just hit him for the 2k. Don't really care too much about drawing. And look at that, I got another one. I've got 3 of these bad boys now. So let's see what he does. He is going to defend, which it's actually unfortunate now that I think about it. Because if he was going to defend, then I might as well have just destroyed the card first, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and flip him over. So we can. Reason being is I want some more power here. I don't think he'll care too much about taking the life, but I'll do that after, and we'll see why. Alright, he's gonna get to 8, and he's probably not defending this. It's not a critical hit. Alright, I'm gonna save him. We'll see why. Because I want to see if he's gonna take this or not. So he's gonna go to drop. I'll use my energy marker. And guess what? We get to play our big dog Beerus. Actually, it's more of a cat too. Now, do I want to discard? Yes, I do. I'll go ahead and honestly, I'll discard one of the other Beerus. I don't think I'm gonna need that many more. All right, so we'll just get rid of him. I don't want to get that attack down. I guess I could have used my skill, but it didn't really matter. Why would I need to do that? All right, and we'll get him for a critical. Yo, here we go. We just played this guy. We about to clear the board. We'll discard Caulifla, unfortunately, and Boom, everybody's gone now. Let's go. Alright, so let's have some fun with some crits. Let's get this Khalifa out there. We'll take a life. Ooh, another one of these guys. Cool. Alright, so he's got 5 in hand. So let's see what he's going to do about taking 2 crits. And I'm just going to kind of ignore this guy for now. I'll deal with him in a turn. I can awaken this turn. So he took that. So now he's going to get to 4. But you know what? That's okay. Now let's talk about 2 of the bigger Jiren cards. And of course I've got the secret rare Goku that I've been hinting at for the entire time. I have to have a little bit of suspense in here. It's not a scary movie or a thriller, but you got to stick around and see what the heck I'm talking about. And I'm still not going to talk about him yet because we're going to talk about Jiren first, okay? But let's go into this middle card. So this is in essence your engine for Jiren. You want this guy out there, which is a Jiren, of course. He's a 4 cost, 430k. Permanent. This card can't be KO'd once per turn, which means he is a challenge to deal with. He's got 30,000 power, so that is on its own not necessarily less hard to KO, but he is a challenge. I'm sorry, he is easy to defend as an attacker, right? So he's easy to defend with that, and let's say you don't want to defend him, he can't be KO'd once per turn. So as long as you play strategically with your Jiren 4 cost and know that your opponent might pull off some crazy moves to KO him, it's often easier to defend him because they may get some type of automatic KO that you can't defend against. And if they do that, well, Jiren gets negated, and you get one more chance to defend your Jiren. But the biggest thing here is its next ability. Activate battle, opponent's turn once per turn. You can do this during a battle. You take 1 damage. If this card is in rest mode, add the top card of your deck to your life. So as long as this Jiren has attacked the previous turn, then you can basically every single turn on your opponent's turn draw a card for free, because you take a life. As long as you're awakened, of course, then you will use Jiren's automatic ability of drawing a card every time you take a life without actually taking one. So that is pretty good, right? Not bad. So most decks are going to play 4 of these. Now, this one's pretty similar in that we have Topo. On play, you take 1 damage. If your leader's awakened, add the top card of your deck to your life. So not quite as good as the other Jiren, which of course is an SR. This is only an uncommon, but it does have 500 combo, so it means that you probably are going to just run 4 of each of these cards to give you more opportunity to take that damage and replace that life when you take it by drawing a card. And really think about this too, is you are taking that damage, which means that life is going to your hand. And then you are drawing a card, which is giving you 2 additional cards in hand every time these abilities are used. So that's what I was talking about when I'm saying that Jiren is a really, really good draw engine and can be tough to beat, because your opponent is oftentimes going to waste a ton of their own resources trying to deal with this Jiren. And what that means too is, when you think about it, you want to defend this Jiren because it's giving you 2 cards per hand. So even if it costs you 2 cards per turn to defend this Jiren, then that's going to equalize you and put you at net 0, whereas your opponent, oftentimes it's going to take them multiple attacks, multiple combos to be able to take out this Jiren. So really good to do there. Now finally, and this isn't the last card we're going to talk about, but this was a good time to throw him in, you know what I'm saying. So this one, I put up the rarest version of this Goku. It is a secret rare, or some may call it the ghost rare version, or even god rare. But this Goku is a ridiculously powerful card, and unless you're playing him yourself, you may think that this is an unfair card, because I remember when I was trying to get my baby deck and my Vegeta deck Green Vegeta going during when the set first dropped. I was so frustrated at this card because it is ridiculous. So, on play, until the end of your opponent's next turn, negate the next damage you take. So that means you don't have to defend at least one life. So you can use that strategically. You know, you don't want to defend if your opponent is just going leader 20k to you. Wait until they're dropping one of those big cards that you would have to waste 2 to 3 more cards to combo against. So it basically negates damage taken to you. Then, as I mentioned, when attacking, choose all of your opponent's cards and they get minus 20k for the turn. And this makes this Goku not only will wipe the board, but even those cards that do survive are oftentimes going to be destroyed by Goku himself. Right? Reason being is, let's say you're going up against that 40k Vegito. You survived him last turn. He didn't KO you. He's in rest mode now. He's gonna get minus 20,000. Now you're dealing with a Goku that is 40,000 power, attacking this now 20,000 power Vegito, or even less, right? I mean, let's say you have Beerus, he minuses 10 more K. Now it's only 10K. This card is going to absolutely destroy your opponent's big battle cards, and he is extremely hard to deal with. He's a 6 cost, so there aren't many cards, abilities that are just going to pop him with a move. And he's easy to defend with 40k. There's really no cards that are higher than 40k. There's a few of them. So it means you're oftentimes going to go into an even match, and it just makes this guy so hard to deal with, and he is, in my opinion, like almost unfair for Reds. Alright, now let's have some fun. We have Topo. Take 1 damage if your leader is awakened. Add the top card of your deck to your life. Go and play that bad boy. Use his ability. You take a damage. Add the top to my life, and when we take damage, we draw a card. So it's a free draw there. Alright, so we're going to use a double skill here so that we can get some cards in hand to draw, because we are struggling here. Get ourselves a nice Goku Ultra Instinct down here. Here's Ultra Instinct. I wasn't sure because the last time I had the weird card. Alright, so I'm going to go for a hit. He'll probably copy to avoid that one, but he's at 6 in hand. I'm at 7. This turn's going to cost him, because even if he copies, he's still going to have to combo away a card. That when this Frieza goes after him, it's going to destroy this one. Oh, and he copied, but he did it. He didn't combo anything with it. He must have forgotten. What a misplay. It's unfortunate for him. He may just end this one. He might just be giving up. Who knows? Yeah, he did. Alright, so now we have a few more. I wanted to talk about this Vegeta, which is another one that's kind of, sees play in pretty much all leaders. It's not kind of a necessary card, but it is a really good card. So it's a 3 cost. He starts off with only 20k power, right? Like, it's not that great. But look, check this out. When attacking, discard 2 cards from your hand. Very costly. However, until the end of your opponent's next turn, this card can't be KO'd, and this card gets 30,000 power. So that's going to put him up to 50k. So you're like, what? So that can really be someone for a 3 cost that can take out. Maybe it's a mirror match against a Goku, right? And you got that freaking 40k attacker secret rare Goku. Now he goes up to 50k. Maybe you combo something away, or use your own stuff to lower him, and he can do this. Now here's another crazy part about this card. Notice he can't be KO'd. Now he's got a second ability here. And what is this second ability? Activate main once per turn. And the once per turn is key, because you're like, why would it need to be once per turn? Well, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with 25k power or less and KO it. Then KO this card. Well, if you discarded 2 cards from your hand, the card cannot be KO'd until next turn. So you can actually use the first ability first when you're attacking, get him to 50k, and then he can't be KO'd, so then you can use that ability and KO a card for 25k for free. Not bad, right? Pretty good. Now the next one, let's talk about Tournament of Power Arena. This is a field card. It's I think it's the only field card in red. So we notice here, activate battle, switch this card to rest mode, choose your leader, or up to 1 battle cards, and it gets 5k power for the battle. Seems not extremely crazy, but it is a really good card. That 5k really comes in clutch because it can stay out there the entire battle, and it basically acts as a good way of comboing 5k, right? Especially when you're going against 20k leader to 20k leader, or even like a Jiren can get to 25, or just kind of that last little bit to get you over the hump to defend a card. So pretty good card for 2 cost. It's not amazing, so it's not an essential one, but a lot of decks do play this one. Now, last one here that we will talk about is Sphere of Destruction. This card, another one that when you're playing against it just seems unfair. So activate main. We're going to play that on main. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with 25k or less and KO it. Now then, if your opponent's life is at 4 or more, deal 1 damage to them. Ouch. So that automatically deals a damage if they're at 4 or more, and there's no way to defend it. Right, so that's why this card to me is a little bit crazy. The fact that you're already KOing at 25k or less for 2 energy, and then the fact that if they're at 4 you can deal a life is really good to me. So this one is a card that I honestly, you know, I don't see a ton of play. I feel like it should probably see a little bit more, but what do I know? You know, not a lot. Alright, now we got some fun here. I'm going to show you all Tournament of Power. One pretty common card to be used, and it's going to save me from death, at least for now. 55k, got some combos in there versus Gohan. So that's a good field card that just kind of stays out there, and you switch it to rest mode. Alright, now here's always a fun move. I love playing this Frieza card with it. Not necessarily a mechanic per se, but if, you know, we fit this one in, it's always fun. So we will go ahead and it kind of demonstrates some of our subtraction here. So now he's going to have to use a super combo because it's 45 to 30. Got to think about this one. Now next turn I may get my board wiped, but my goal would be to just defend so that I could get this UI Goku out there. At least I call him. I don't know. Is this Ultra Instinct? I don't know, but I just call him that because he negates damage and all that good stuff. Oh, and he took it. Okay. Well, that was unexpected. All right, so that means now we're going to be able to go ahead and hit this Nappa, and I will copy his attack. Copy Frieza. Get that hit in there. See if he defends that. He'd also need a super combo to do so. I don't see that happening. He's going to think about it. I'm going to go out on a limb. Oh, and he did defend Nappa. Odd choice there. So, you know what we're going to do? Alright, buddy, you really want that Nappa, don't you? I wouldn't have defended it if it was me, but that's just me. Let's see if he goes again. And if he does, then that's going to maintain, it's going to put a stalemate at the hand advantage. I am in an odd spot, so this is why I don't necessarily want to defend, because I need these for draw power. But so we're going to go 6, and then if we survived again, I would have 7. So I could go boom, boom. So I really not want to use these guys, but we'll see. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Dragon Ball Nest. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully this was an informative video on how to play the color red in Dragon Ball Fusion World. If you liked what you saw, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can become part of the Hawk's Nest, a fearless flock of fabulous folks who love to work with alliteration. I love alliteration, and you are going to hear it from me a lot if you watch me. Now, anyway, if you're not ready to fly yet, or if you're not quite sure about this fearless flock of fabulous folks and the alliteration of the host, just hit that like button and say, maybe he'll grow on me a little bit more. So that we'll show up again in an algorithm near you. Leave me a comment. What did you think? What are some other types of videos that you want to see? We only have, well, not only, we're not even halfway done yet. We have 3 more of these videos to go. Next up, we are going to do yellow, and then probably green, and then we will save black because black was the newest color. We'll save that one for last, okay? But until then, we will see you next time.